So this is going to help you. We're going to do a quick exercise. And I've written out a soprano line on the board. And then we're just going to figure out we're just going to write some chords underneath. That's all we're going to do for this exercise. We're not going to fully harmonize everything. We're just going to choose chords. And everything in here is going to be first inversion. And we're just going to do basic chords for now. We're not going to do anything weird or fancy. We're just going to be simple. So basically this thing, you can print it out for yourself. It's very handy. So it just teaches us about the way in which chords can follow each other. There is a nice way that you can look at it. Instead of just going along chord for chord, for instance, if we're on the board and you're like, oh my goodness, okay, I think that's chord 1 or the tonic chord. And by the time you get at the end, you're still not sure where you're going. You're just randomly doing it chord by chord. And I think that causes much frustration. It did for me. And then you end up having to erase lots of stuff if things don't work out. Has that ever happened to you before? Yeah, I feel like that's a story of my high school harmony life. Like, it was terrible until I discovered this. When you can actually, instead of thinking chord for chord, when you have a soprano line like this, you already sort of visualize, okay, which chords am I going to use? Is it appropriate? And I don't have to change, and I don't have to erase my chords when I move along. So this goes in the progression of the fifth circle, if you're familiar. So we're starting with the least used chord, which is the median. We don't usually use that a lot. But if you were to use the median can move in this progression, or the median can maybe move to there. This is the circle of fifth, so we go down a fifth to the submedian, down a fifth to the supertonic, down a fifth dominant, down a fifth. We are back home in the tonic. This shows you where chords can move. So the median chord cannot go to chord 7, for instance, or the leading note chord. It just can't. It either has to go to the submedian or it goes to subdominant. And I think you know that progression, you know the tonic, median, subdominant progression. So it makes sense. These are all chords on its own. These little rectangular blocks, they're chord functions. I don't know if you've heard of that before, how chords function. There are times when the leading note can function as a dominant, or the supertonic can function as a subdominant, things like that. So chords can move to single chords or can move to chord functions. We're just going to do something very simple. Hopefully this will go quickly. And just tell me if you can see the screen of this board. Okay, so I have put an exercise here in E flat major. Okay, so just to clarify, we have a minim G, we have crotchet F, we have an E flat minim, D minim, E flat G, A, F crotchet, and E flat semibreve at the end. So according to this nice little chart here, I put some rules down. Basically, start with tonic if possible, okay? And here we're going to see that it is possible. And it says end also in tonic if possible. So we're already going to choose our chords like that, tonic, fine. The penultimate chord, which is the second last chord, is Latin. English Latin, the Latin word is penultima, but this is now an anglicized Latin word. That chord should be dominant if possible, and here we're going to put it down. Then we're going to write all other chord options underneath our melody. Now this is where it gets a bit interesting and weird. But bear with me. So we're just going to notate what our chord notes are for each step of the scale. So chord 1 in E flat major, what are the notes there? Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's E flat, G, B flat for chord 1. For instance, if we see a G there, we can think, okay, that can be chord 1. Chord 2, E flat major, what's that?
F.
Yes.
A, C.
Great. And then we're going on. I'm just going to, chord 3 is?
G, B, D.
Great. And that's G, B flat. D. Just because we're in E flat major. chord 4, or the subdominant is so A flat.
A flat C.
Great. A flat C, E flat, and the dominant is B flat,
B flat.
Thank you. This is so ugly. I wish I had a whiteboard. Okay, the median. I don't know if you can see that low. Oh, so ugly. Okay, the median is C, E flat, G. And we're just going to put our flats in here to remind ourselves of our key, and then chord. The leading chord is D, F, A flat. Okay, so basically this is going to be easy. Like I told you, this is a simple exercise, so we're actually not going to use this one. We're going to take this out. There's no opportunity to use that. Everything is going to be in root position, and there's no need for the dominant seven, so it's just easy. If we're going to try and choose chords, we're going to see possibilities. Okay, possibilities for this F here. If you look through all your, you can actually write it on a piece of paper there, because I don't know if you can see this, but possibilities for the F. What do you think we can use there? Which chords correspond? I'm just going to write them above here.
Supertonic.
Yes, a supertonic. Supertonic and
Dominant.
dominant. Great, and that's basically that, because we don't have our leading note. Fine, this is another F, so we just have the same possibilities. What's the possibility for E flat?
Tonic.
Great, tonic, and then let's see, so tonic, and I'll put down subdominant and submediate. Great. Then we have a D. Any options for the note D out of these here? We only have 6 chords with which to work. So I see D in the median. Okay. Probably not going to use that, but okay, it's an option. And I see D in the dominant as well. Then E flat, we're just going to copy what we've seen here because it's the same. So tonic, subdominant, and submediate. Then we have a G. What can harmonize with G?
Tonic.
Great. That's a nice and simple one. And then I see, well, the median can work as well, if and when. Not sure we're going to use that, but that can work. And then we have our submedian as well. Okay, we have an A flat there, and I'm just going to write subdominant and supertonic. Okay, great, and that's basically it, because we already said we want our second last chord on that F to be dominant. Fine. So now we're going to choose, and I'm just going to pick a different color, not that you will notice, but okay. So on that page, we're going to check the harmonic progression now, so we're going to choose our chords, and then also we just want to make sure number 5 says that we're going to choose different chords for every melody note. We don't want to, because it's going to mess with the harmonic rhythm. If you're going to have, say for instance, oh, I see there are 2 dominants here, for instance, as a possibility. If you go tonic, dominant, that's just, not going to be the best. So we don't want that, we don't want to repeat. So, if you can see our options, I don't know how clear that is, our options on top of the notes. We have 2 options here, which one is better for the second note? So we already have tonic, and tonic can go anywhere. According to this chart, Tonic is just right at the end, but tonic is special because it can go anywhere. It can leap anywhere. Okay, so we look at all the options from here. Where would we go on this F? Would we go to supertonic or dominant?
Dominant.
Okay, so if we go to dominant,
I would have
what would we go to next? If we look at our page of harmonic progression, so dominant can only do one thing. Dominant can either go home to the tonic or, and this is the exception, but you guys know this because you've been doing cadences for a long time. So the dominant can either go home or it can go deceptively to the submediate, as in the interrupted cadence or deceptive cadence. So if we were to choose a chord here, would we only have one option or two options here? Supertonic and dominant, but dominant can't go to supertonic and can't go to dominant again. So it means this one has to change. So what do we have to put here?
Supertonic.
Great. And then we check, we're not going to repeat supertonic because no repetitions, but we're just going to check on our list. Can supertonic go to dominant? And yes, it can. So we already have our first bar here. Supertonic to dominant. Shandy, does this make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, great. Then we're going to go from there. We're going to leave from the dominant to the next chord. We have our options here on our E flat. No. So we're just going to see we have an option of tonic, of subdominant, and submediate. Now already we know, I'm just going to choose. Oh no, I'm just going to circle what we chose. We already know that we can't do subdominant because dominant doesn't go to subdominant. So we can cross that off the list. Dominant can go to tonic and it can go to submediate. So here, this is the point where you get to choose, where you get to, live on the edge and decide. This is where you make your choices. So are you going to choose tonic or are you going to choose submediate? Both are right.
Tonic to be safe.
Yes, I was to say be safe. Don't live too much on the edge there. Because I'm thinking if we choose submediate and we have to go to the next chord, will submediate be followed by dominant or something weird? Probably not. So let's stick to that. Then, so we have nice chord progression so far. And also the nice thing about tonic is, like I said, tonic can go anywhere. It doesn't have any specific things. He likes to, jump from one note to another. So that's fine. We have DX. So we can either use the median or the dominant. What do you think can come here? What do you think is safe?
Dominant.
The exact same.
Whoa, did you guys hear that?
Yes. Echo effect.
It's my.
Okay,
It's like a trance party.
I don't know what's happening now because it normally only happens when we're all in the same classroom. No.
Oh wow. Anyway, let's move on here. So we have dominant, and as you know from our little nice progression list, dominant can either do two things, can go home or can go deceptively to the submediate. So, and definitely our option here, oh my goodness, our option here, we can't do subdominant here. So we only have tonic and submediate. Where would you go from there? Would you do tonic or submediate after the dominant?
Tonic.
I would say tonic as well, because if I'm looking ahead to the next chord, our options are again tonic and submediate, and I would not want to repeat the submediate. So I'm going to use tonic here, and then I think I'll go to the submediate in the next chord. So we'll use that, and I think I'll go here because tonic can easily go to submedian, you can go anywhere. Also, don't know if you know this, but the submedian is also an auxiliary chord of the tonic. They're very much related, so that's cool. Now we only have one more chord to fill in. From the submedians, we need to move on to either, according to our list, the subdominant or the supertonic. So where would we go? If we go to our nice little list here, we can see that the submedian goes nicely to the subdominant. So that's great. It can also go to the supertonic because supertonic is related to subdominant, but it's better to go to the subdominant, I would say, because they're more closely related. So do you think we should choose that here? Do you think we should choose that here?
Wait, so I'm confused. The submedians on the diagram, where does it go?
The submedian on the diagram, sorry, you can see that. It goes to this function, it goes to subdominant function.
Okay, okay, yeah.
So the main function is the subdominant and the sub-function there is the supertonic. So I would say I would rather go to the main one. Almost like if you're at the end of a piece, you could actually end leading note, like leading note chord tonic, but I would rather end subdominant tonic because that's the main. The leading note is just a function sometimes, but the real one, I'll go with the real one. So here in this function, I'll go with the real one. I would say subdominant. So then we have a nice progression, I would say, and it fits within our harmonic progression. So on the board we have tonic to supertonic, dominant, tonic, dominant, tonic, submedian, subdominant, dominant, tonic. And then you just go, not crazy, but you just fill in. And for instance, I'm not going to have a problem. So here with E flat, I'm just going to put in the bass notes. You don't have a problem. Okay, so we don't have a problem. And as you can see, it's moving nicely. The bass and the soprano together. We also have some contrary motion here, which is great, which we like our bass and our soprano to do. And then you're not going to have trouble with chords. You may or may not run into trouble when you're thinking about, okay, what to double, blah, 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 but that comes later. So this is just a way to choose your chords, and then you do it immediately before you start harmonizing. Because if you start, for instance, if I were to not know what I was going to do here, if I already decided, oh, that looks like dominant, and I'm going to just harmonize with the dominant, and you wrote out your chords nicely. Let's see, you can do this. If you wrote out your chords nicely, and you're having the most fun, and you had a hard time still working it out, but now you're like, oh wait, but I can't move now, and then you have to erase this whole thing. And you have to start again. So instead of doing that, first choose your chords. Make sure that your chords fulfill the harmonic progression, and once you do that, then you can go sort of chord by chord. It makes it easier. I won't lie and say you won't have stress or that you won't run into trouble. But you won't run into as much trouble as you would have if you just make it harder for yourself by being very nearsighted. This is just a more rounded perspective so that you can see clearly. You have an overall vision instead of zooming in chord by chord. Because sometimes when you're zooming in chord by chord, it's like you can't see what's right in front of you because you're looking too closely. So this brings you back a bit. Does this make sense? Great. Shandy, are you following?
Yes, it's really helpful because like usually what I do is I just end up looking for the pattern, whether it's like in the soprano or in the bass. And then you always get those chords where it's a hustle because you're not really sure what to fill. So this rule is great.
And it's almost like there are those places where you know the progression, but then there's those in-between chords that approach progressions and you don't know what to do there. So this helps with that.